Next up we have Sister Chaudhry. She's an Assistant Solicitor General in the New York State Attorney General's Office. She spent 4 years in the Middle East studying Arabic, and she's actually grew up here in Albany, and she's very supportive of our youth program. When she came back in 2007, she's been helping with the Iraqi refugees. So please welcome the lovely Zainab Chaudhry.
Assalamu alaikum, ladies and gentlemen, sisters and brothers. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Thank you for can't hear? How's this? Okay, sorry, I don't do this that much. Jazakumullah khairan to the youth for inviting me to be here tonight with them and with all of you. I'm really honored for the invitation. And the theme being self-improvement, I just want to spend a few moments giving all the young people and myself and the other not-so-young people here with us today some practical advice about how we might take steps to improve different aspects of our lives for our own betterment, of course, and for our ultimate goal, which is to make our lives more pleasing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, I'm not any kind of expert on self-improvement or anything like that, but I'm just speaking to you from my own experiences that I've learned facing the challenges that we face here as Muslims in America. I see two main challenges that we face, one from the outside and one from within. The first challenge, of course, is from those outside our community who may misunderstand what Islam means and what it is and hold prejudice against us and stereotypes as Muslims in general. But of course, the second challenge is from within our own selves. And I think most of us will agree that this is really often the more difficult challenge as we struggle to find a balance between our lives in this world, whether that's school or professions or families, with our religious and spiritual lives. And so I'm hoping what we'll talk about today will improve our lives and habits in practical ways to help us respond to both of these challenges that we face. Of course, we know as Muslims that our lives are not divided into our life in the world and our spiritual life, or our life in the mosque. But our faith overlaps with and plays a role in all aspects of our life. And this is where I want to begin with a very general way and a very simple way to take every single thing that the youth do, that we all do, to a higher level. And Islam teaches us that any act that we do, even if it's not specifically an act of worship like prayer or fasting, but if it's done with the right intention and a good and sincere intention for the purpose of living a good and righteous life that is pleasing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that can be an act itself that elevates an ordinary act into something that at the same time can be considered an act of worship. It seems simple and it seems easy to do, but it's very easy to forget to do this, to check our intentions about our actions. So for example, we're going to talk about this in a little bit, but when I go to school or when I go to work, am I doing that just to earn money so I can have fun and spend it? Or because I studied so many years for this profession that this is what I need to be doing for its own sake? Or am I taking it to the next level and saying, I'm working with the gifts Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave me and the education He gave me to be self-sufficient, to provide for my family and other obligations, to pay sadaqah, to pay charity, to be able to pay zakat, to have time and flexibility to spend in doing volunteer work or whatever it may be, to have time to convey while working a good image of Islam to my coworkers. Just by doing well. So there's lots of ways we can take our intention to the next level with everything we do. And so I just wanted to start with that because I think that we can all sort of do that with many things that we do in day-to-day life. But I wanted to take some time and divide our improvements that we want to make into three different categories. And that being improving, and of course these all overlap, but just for the sake of our talk tonight, to be our relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, improving that, improving our own selves, and improving our relationships with other people. So beginning, of course, with our relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that's, of course, the primary and most important relationship that we have. And I think everybody knows that we could all be doing more with that, and we probably know what we should be doing, and we're not doing it. But I want to take a minute to remind everyone, and myself of course too, that first and foremost, no matter what else we're doing, that our 5 daily prayers should not be being missed. They should be on time, no matter where we are, what we're doing, what we have to do, the whole laundry list of things in our mind while we're trying to pray. That should not be missed. It has to be the priority. And I know that's really hard to do with the busy lives that we all live, especially nowadays. Everybody, and youth especially, are involved in so many, many, many things. But for example, I really believe when we prioritize this above all else, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will open the other doors and make things easy for you. So for example, I prioritize it at work by scheduling my meetings around times that I know that I'm going to need to pray. And it's of course easier with Dhuhr and Asr because there's sort of a broader time range. But just to think about things ahead of time and plan a little bit ahead of time will enable us to be able to fulfill this very, very basic obligation that we have. And in this vein, I've really found that when I'm open and upfront and confident about who I am and what I need to do with my professors, with my boss, with other coworkers, that there's always an openness and always an understanding and a respect that they give you for committing to that prayer and to that principle. And at home, I think what I would encourage all of you to do, and I think this will help you in your prayer and your worship at home, is to have a special place set aside where you do your worship and your prayers. It's a place where if you do something regularly, angels will wait for you at that time to be there with you. It will give you better concentration in your prayers, and it's a beautiful thing to have a space in our home for that. We have a space for everything else, for eating, for watching TV, for the gym, but we don't make a prayer niche, a prayer place that's special, and I really encourage you all to do that. Also, in terms of our relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I know that even sometimes doing just those basic 5 salah every day is difficult, but if we can, to maintain a schedule of other specific worship to the amount that you can, whether it's an amount of Quran you're going to read per day, a page or half a page or 2 ayat, even if it's a little amount, to try and maintain that. Or I'm going to do 100 Salat al-Nabi each morning or each evening before I sleep. Something that we do consistently and daily. Can you not hear me in the back? Is there a problem? No? Okay. Sorry, I just saw something in the back. Of course, another thing we can do is to have regular spiritual checkpoints to check our relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Maybe it's weekly, maybe that's too much, maybe it's monthly. At the very least, it should be yearly, right? At least in Ramadan, we should be checking ourselves and reevaluating. And hopefully we're all doing that, inshallah. But if we can do that more frequently, we will keep remembering to prioritize and rebalance our lives to have this relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala be the most important. And finally, in this category, we should check everything that we do, and especially the youth and everyone. Everything in life that we do should be checked first before we do it with our values and principles. And of course, if there's any question about what those values and principles are and people aren't sure and you aren't sure, please, please, please do whatever you need to do to learn, to take courses. You have your dear Imam. We have many online classes. You don't need to go overseas to learn the obligations of your religion. But let's check everything we do against those values. So growing up, one of the things I always used to keep in mind, and maybe this is going to be a little startling to people, but it was a wake-up call to me when someone told it to me years ago, and I found it very useful, so I would like to share it, which is, if I'm planning to go somewhere and do something, I should for a moment stop and think, if something, God forbid, were to happen to me in that place, at that time, doing that thing, is that a place I would want to be my last place on earth before I meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? And that will prevent you from doing a lot of things that you shouldn't do. So I encourage you to think about that when planning your activities. And just generally, anywhere you have to go, or for work, or for any reason that you're compromising your principles, is not a place that you want to be. And what you lose from this world, from this dunya, for sticking to your principles, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to return to you something even better in exchange. And I've always found that to be true in my own life. And I don't have a lot of time for personal anecdotes, but definitely that has been my experience. As far as our second category tonight, improving ourselves, the most obvious thing that people today generally would think about is improving my physical body, my physical appearance, eating well, exercising, being healthy. And those things must be done and should be done, of course. Our bodies are a trust from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we should all be taking care of it. But here, and I'm not going to dwell on that piece because I know you get a lot of that everywhere else. But what I want to say about that is in line with what we said earlier. Let's check our intentions. Am I doing that to be fashionable? Am I doing it to be muscular? Am I doing it to be attractive to boys or girls? Or am I doing it to be healthy, to keep my body strong for my family and my work and my worship? Right? So do I have the right intention for even taking care of my body? But what I want to talk about tonight is I think one of the most important things for youth, and I'm sure you've all heard this, but really the importance of, whether it's in our studies, if you're in college and high school, or professions, whatever we are doing to do to the best of our ability, striving for excellence and really perfection in that. Of course, no one is perfect except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but to the extent that we can achieve a level of excellence. This is part of our deen, this is part of Islam called ihsan. But remember what we said earlier, we don't want this just for its own worldly sake, right? That would be empty successes. So we want to make it work for us in the hereafter. But the importance, and Congressman Tonko talked about this, establishing ourselves, being educated, successful, productive members of society and this community, this is what will help Muslims increase their stature, increase the respect that they get in the society. And we want that honor, not just for ourselves individually, but as a community for Muslims. And this is what will give us leverage in public policy debates about all kinds of issues that we care about. And it's true that we have to work harder than other people to prove ourselves. It's just the reality. We have to be better than everybody else. We can't just be getting by or being okay. We have to be the best. So, of course, studying hard is how we can do this. Aim for being the top of your class. Aim for being valedictorian. It will increase your confidence. It will prove your abilities to other people, and also give you leverage in both school and workplace environments to have your needs met and respected. For example, to leave for Jama'ah prayer, or to have a place to make your daily prayers, or have time off in Ramadan, or whatever it is that you would like to have an accommodation for. If you are the best at what you do, people will be happy to make those concessions for you. And in doing that, doing what we talked about in this category is also going to improve the image and understanding that other people have about Islam and Muslims. Again, this isn't us to improve ourselves only for our own sake. We always have something higher, we're trying to do something more. Because every one of us in this room, especially the hijabah, the Muslim women who cover, they represent all the billion plus Muslims in the world when they walk out their door every day. That's why we have to do this, not just for ourselves. And so being the top of your profession, the top of your class, doing well in whatever your endeavors are, is going to improve the image and understanding that people have, and this is sometimes more powerful to convey this beauty of Islam in this indirect way, and more powerful than anything else we might do. And here I do want to share a short story, and I promise I'm not going to take too much of your time. But when I started working after law school at the New York Court of Appeals, which is our high court, there was a judge there, and I apologize for those of you who have heard this story, but it's very powerful to me. When I started working there was a comment made by this particular judge that, oh my God, now we have Yasser Arafat's daughter working here. You know, this was his understanding that he had of Muslims, was Yasser Arafat. And in the 4 years that I worked there, after 2 years, he got to know me and my work and what I was about. And he asked me to come and work for him personally in his own chambers. And he apologized to me for what he had thought and that he was ignorant. And he changed his views so much about Muslims and Islam that I was working for him when 9/11 happened, which of course was a very tragic day. And he went to a conference of all judges in New York State and sat at a round table where every other judge said something along the lines of, you know, I'm so uncomfortable with those Muslims when they come to my courtroom and, you know, whatever disrespectful things they were saying. And this judge that had changed his mind from knowing me stood up in that room and told every judge there that they didn't know what they were talking about because he knew a Muslim woman and she was X, Y, and Z. So we never know, just by doing whatever we do in our daily lives, you know, the type of difference we're going to make in people's understanding of Islam and Muslims, including power for people in government and in the country. So I just want everyone to think about that, whatever they do. Finally, improving our relationship with others. And there's so much to be said, of course, in all the categories in this category, but first and foremost is our relationship with our families, especially our parents, and our mothers especially, and everybody knows the place that they have in our lives. And I need to remind myself of this as well, but we spend a lot of time with other people, with our work, with our studies, with our friends, especially at the age of the youth. But it's your parents who deserve that time. Giving our money and time to others who need it, and I know all of you do that with the youth group, and mashallah, that's wonderful. Please continue that. And the last thing on that category is please, please, please unplug sometimes. Get off the grid sometimes. There's no need to be on Facebook all the time, or Twitter, or whatever it is that people do nowadays. Not at the dinner table, unless you're a policeman, a doctor, a firefighter. There's times that can be shut off to improve your communication in person with people and connect with your family and other people. And I want to leave you with a hadith, which I'm sure you've all heard, but take advantage of 5 before 5. 5 things before 5 other things. Your youth before your old age. Your health before you become weak and sick. Your wealth before poverty afflicts you. Your time, your free time, before you get busy. And your life before your death. So please don't waste your time, because even when you get to my age, which you may think is old, but it's still youth in this theme of life. And I find myself very tired compared to the time and energy that I had at your age. So please, please, please make a commitment to do one thing in each category that we talked about. One small act done consistently is better than trying to do too much and then leaving go of all of it. And step by step, we will get to where we want to be. Keep good company. MashaAllah, this group you have is beautiful. I never had anything like this at my age, and you are very, very blessed to have that support. So please keep that special to yourself. You are the future of this community and Islam in America. And I don't know all of you. There's so many of you I don't know, but I know how proud this community is of you, how proud Imam Yaki is of all of you. And I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala increase you in knowledge and make you the best of this generation.